Just gonna figure I'd do a quick review of this Stinger with the Lesco labels. So this is a 30-inch aerator. I bought a X Mark aerator back in about 2013-14 when they pretty much first came out, right on aerator. It was pretty sweet. I didn't want to push our aerator around. So I ended up buying one. After a couple, I think I broke the spindle in the chain. The first chain broke with 1.5 hours on it. So I quickly realized that it was not great in the sense of having chains. So I've been looking for alternatives, just kind of waiting for something to hit the market. And I figured I'd just do a little walkthrough with this thing. My supplier called me up last summer, like, hey, we got one in stock. You know, last summer it was 2021, so everywhere was short on everything. He had one come in and he's like, the first buyer fell through. Is this something that you'd be interested in? I was like, how much is it? He's like 15,000, or, you know, it was like 14,500. I was like, damn, that's expensive. Thought about it for a few minutes, called him back. I was like, all right, I'll buy it. And the reason I wanted something with no chains is so I could put somebody on it that doesn't need to be a master mechanic to operate it and grease it between every lawn. This fit the bill. We currently have 92.6 hours on it. I'll tell you some things that I like about it, some surprises that I was not expecting and, you know, ended up happening. No, number one, there's no chains. You can't beat the no chains. It's just so valuable not having the chains on here because they are such a headache. So I took this cover off. It has these plastic wing nuts that hold it on there, which is better than the other one that I had. Because the other one had, you had to have a wrench because it was just a bolt. But there's no chains. No chains under here. There's not even a grease point, which I like having things that I can grease. So I'm hoping these sealed bearings hold up pretty well. They seem to be pretty nice right now. Yeah, so that's what it looks like underneath. A little dirty, you know, we could clean it up a little bit. It's a beautiful sight not to see chains. I've got nightmares from those. You break a chain in the field and sometimes you can't even move the aerator if a chain breaks, so you got to fix it right on the spot, no matter where you are. The number one thing, no chains. Can't beat that. Number two, this spreader here, when I first started using it, I was with Josh, he's my spray tech, and he does aeration and stuff, and you know, he's like, why don't you use that? I'm like, that's just a waste of space. And you know, when I was standing on it, I was like, I can't see anything. You know, this is what you're seeing. You can't see the front tires. So I was like, that's just a waste. He ended up hopping on there and I was like, okay, maybe that is a good idea. We spread our seed at, you know, 5 pounds per 1,000. So 1 acre long, we put about 200 pounds of seed. With one of these spreaders, it's about an hour and 20 minutes, an hour to an hour and 20 minutes, just depending on how fast it goes. But with this, we're able to spread seed while we're aerating. And we literally shave an hour of time off of the lawn by being able to do that. And then we just use these guys to spread the fertilizer. It has a nice digital dial where you actually set this bad boy to whatever number you want to set it at. It's really bright. And then you press power and turn it on and it spins the drum, opens it up, all electronic. You don't have to do anything manually. You just set the number and it automatically does it. We've had it for 92 hours. And the only thing that's gone wrong with it is just this little gauge here. It stopped working nearly immediately. Not that we really need that. I have enough experience just from the other one to kind of know what to set it at. If you don't have a lot of room on your trailer, you can flip this up and it locks into place. And you can walk behind it, which I would not want to do, but you know, it's a pretty nice little storage feature. So another really cool thing about this is their time control here. So you press this button, I pressed it on the down side and it automatically pushes the tines down into the ground. And every time I step on this, so like when I'm turning around, all I gotta do is step on that and it pulls the tines up, step off of it, and they go back down to the ground. So that's really nice. I didn't realize how convenient that would be, but that is really nice to have. And then this is how you adjust the tine pressure. That's pretty standard. One weakness on this, I will say, is the brake. I do like that it's a tire brake and it's physical brake. I do like that, but I don't necessarily like how dirty it gets. All the mud catches up to it all the time. I almost want to cut the fenders off because of it, because it gets caught between the fender and the tire. I mean, it's not been a huge deal. I think one time it actually did affect the drive motor on it, and it did slow it down. We had to get in there and clean it out. I can do donuts with this thing with the tines down, and I would never even think of doing that with chains, just because the tension just breaks the chains. Where this thing, like I've done donuts with this before, just to make sure it didn't break. Got a big gas tank, lasts quite a while. It's easy to fill hopper, and it has a gauge where you can see the seed in there, so you know how much you have left and know when you're going to run out. So one of the biggest turnoffs that I had with this machine when I originally looked at them is it has smaller tines, smaller than like you would buy for other aerators, and the other ones, they won't fit on their drum. And if I recall correctly, it's because there's not enough room for it to slide onto their bolts, which all they got to do is make their knobs here a bit longer than it could. But I have a feeling that's so they could sell you their tines. Their tines are pretty expensive, and they do smaller holes. But what I found is when you don't have those holes to compare it to on a lawn, cores are cores at the end of the day. They're not that much smaller, and it really doesn't make a huge difference as far as, you know, the size. It's just a matter of you're going to have to buy Stinger tines, or heavily, well, not heavily, but just have to cut a bunch of other tines to get whatever tines you want on here. That was one downside, and that was something that really turned me off on these, is just you have to buy their tines. And I think, if I recall correctly, they're like $8 or $9 a piece compared to $5. Yeah, overall, I would absolutely buy this aerator again. Like I said, Josh, he's our tech guy, or spray tech, and he did nearly all of the aeration and seeding himself. I think we did like 35, 40 acres for the season on different lawns, and this did not break down on him one time. And I didn't have to be out there doing it, so it was really nice having that peace of mind where we had a reliable piece of equipment, especially considering the last aerator was our least reliable, and I felt like I had to be out there to be able to tackle any upcoming problems that the chains might have broke. Got to stay on top of lubing them to prevent them from breaking. Yeah, so overall, I would really recommend buying it. It's 15 grand. There's cheaper aerators out there, but if they got chains, they don't compare, in my opinion. You gotta really babysit chains. I would imagine there's some that have covers on the chains and all that. Chains are chains at the end of the day, and I will never, ever go back to them if I can help it.